Hey guys, this is gonna be build video number 2. Actually, I don't think I showed this in the last video. Here's the 2 springs inside, and then your 15mm M4s for this. Now, you want these to be able to go push in like this. So what I did is I drilled it out to 4mm, and then stuck these in and then kind of pushed on them. But if it doesn't, it doesn't matter if it goes to if it does this or not. I guess I should have said that earlier. I guess it doesn't matter. It's gonna help if it doesn't when you're installing everything, because a lot of the times what happens when I go to put it in, you're gonna notice that this it'll just get pushed in, and what happens is the 5mm rod won't be able to go through. It gets hit. So if you do thread it in and it doesn't move, or you have to thread it in, you're gonna thread it in. Just look down the hole and then just do it right before the head of the screw. And then what you could always do too is you can stick the shaft in and then push it down, twist it, yada yada yada, all that good stuff, and then maybe go up a little bit, because I can't get it out now, but if you go out a little bit, you can move it out, and that kind of gives you a general idea of where it's supposed to be, because it doesn't have to be perfect, but again, you just want to, it's just something to look out for. I just don't want you guys to think that you're doing something wrong or anything like that. See, I just hit it right now and it went in. Okay, so just to kind of help you guys with this, what I'll do is I'll eyeball it. You can kind of, once you get the wheels on, you can kind of, let's see if I can do it with the camera. If you look down, hopefully you can see that. But if you look down, you'll be able to see the where they sit. And with mine, I have to push mine all the way in. Until it hits the stop here, or basically until it hits the motor. Which is good. You want it, in theory, you want it to be, you want the shaft to be as short as possible, to minimize any force on that shaft or the end of the shaft. Also, any wobble that could happen if it's too far or too close to the edge, I guess would be the best way to explain that. All right, back to this. All right, let's go ahead and finish up with getting our actuators mounted. So we'll do the dump bed first. Let me make sure that you guys can see. Okay, so yep. Okay, so what you're gonna do is what I did is I held at one end, and you're gonna go ahead and grab your all thread M4, and you're gonna go ahead and stick it in. And then you just don't force anything. I mean, you may have to, but if you don't want to be smacking it in, you know, with anything, you know, unless you feel like it should go, but it has before. But mine, obviously, I tried to make the holes as big as possible, but I also have 4mm drill bit. So once you do that, you can go ahead and grab your nut. Again, I'm using these flange nuts. I like the way they look. I think the lock nuts look a little silly. At least these look somewhat scale. I mean, not in reality, but at least it's trying to be. So I hand tighten these for right now, but you can see they're pretty free. So, and then what I do here is in the little channel for the wires. So in reality, these wires aren't going to move too much. You can see that it doesn't go too much. On my frame or my rear chassis plate, the notches aren't as big as your guys's. On the updated one, they are to where this goes up a little bit higher. Obviously, this is 90 degrees right here, so that's quite huge. But you can see it does. Mine will do this at about this angle, which is roughly 55 or 60 degrees. And then your guys's will go almost to about right here, I believe. So not too much of a difference, but I was trying to get the most possible. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get my thing. And I use hot glue for these wires. Not that hot glue is any better than anything else, but I like the fact that it's not permanent and that I can get my wires in there again, or take them out again, excuse me. I don't really know how it was sitting in there before. I'll have to re-glue it just to show you guys. Oh, I'll deal with that later. So in theory, you'd have that glued. So then what you're going to do up here, we'll start on this side, is you're going to go ahead and use your hand, and then you're going to actually, same thing as the bottom, like the bottom hinge, you're going to kind of wiggle the bolt. You may spin it a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and take it back out and see what's going on, just to make sure my actuator isn't all weird. So I'm just going to go ahead and start threading it just in case. It's okay if you have to thread it all the way in there, but these are going to be your 35mm M4 button heads. I don't know if that's what they're called in other countries, but essentially it's a little round head, and then you'll get it in. And then you can make this snug just like the bottom one. We're not going to unthread out. And then again, I made these long just in case anybody wanted to put some nuts on it in case they drilled through the whole thing, which is, it's not, again, you can go either way. And it looks like it's actually threading into this, so the holes are pretty tight, it looks like. But got a little harder. I was kind of wonder what was going on. I think it was the paint. So just snug it up. Because again, you don't want to tighten it too much because you'll just end up ripping this piece off. So just snugging it up and just a little bit, and then you'll notice now that it's standing on its own. So excuse me. So let's go ahead and move on. Now we want to add all the details. What we'll do first is we'll go ahead and get our wires through. I know I had told you guys I was going to remodel this piece here, and you know, I was trying to make this work, but that just wasn't going to work. So now what we've done is we made the hole bigger, And then I modeled a cap for this, and then updated it. And in theory, I haven't tested it just yet, but in theory, I'm printing a bunch of other things, but it should click right in, and you should have a cover for all this, and you don't have to worry about anything getting inside. So I'm gonna do something that you guys probably already did. A lot easier too with this massive hole now. And I'm going to go ahead and leave just a little bit of my my shield out, my shielded portion out, just so I can hide these wires just a little bit better. I didn't really feel like taking apart the motor and redoing what they had done already, so I think just tucking it in here behind everything should be more than enough. So you can see it just slides right in there, and then what we'll do, go ahead and feed these through. Maybe easier to do it without it inside. Do it just like this. Yep. Yeah, 'cause I kind of don't want it to be that tight, but I guess this is another good reason why you want to use shielded wire, because you know you're going to be hitting corners like this. And so it looks like you can shave it down. The bolt, you can shave it, can be shaved down another 4 or 5 millimeters, in case you don't like this. And if that's the case, let me know, then maybe I can remodel this again, make these holes a little bit lower so the cap works a little bit better, but I think the cap will work. And then what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and, I didn't remove the screw down there on the ring gear. So what I'm going to end up doing is just I'll probably add like just a dab of hot glue and allow this to sit in here nicely. You would obviously screw it in, but it's pretty clean. I think it's quite nice. Yeah. Alright, so now that we've got that done, we'll go ahead and start adding everything. We'll start with the gas tank. So I totally forgot that I redid the holes on the new model. So then the gas tank will work on the new one, will work for you. So what you would do is, now I don't really want to cut my wires shorter, but I think that's what's going to end up happening, because you don't really want these to be that long, because I mean you really can't have them that long. Because before I had the wires down below. Let me think about this for a minute. Here's what we're gonna do. is we're gonna go ahead and mark where we had these, because this is where we want to sit, and then we're gonna go ahead and mark these on both sides. So then what I'm gonna do, let me go ahead and pull this out a little bit. So good thing I didn't have the screw. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and push these in. We're going to pull more than we need. We'll go ahead and put it back in there just to mimic what it would be like. And for now, we're going to leave these just like that. And we're just doing this for wiring purposes. So now what we're going to be able to do is mark up here. We'll speed through this process. I'm just going to for the sake of the video, I'm going to go ahead and just solder these leads up without any connectors. Normally you would want connectors, but with what we're dealing with here and how tight of an area, and I know it's crazy to say because there's so much room in here, but where everything pivots and how I had to design this with this motor, we're pretty constrained and limited. So what I ended up doing is it also well, I don't know how long it's been since you guys were over there, but what we ended up doing is cutting our wires. I cut the sleeve back down. I'll explain it again, and if I'll edit out the other part. But what I ended up doing is pushing my wires in a lot more than I normally would. And I'm going to eventually pull them back out just so I have there's room for this to sit down on. But what I did is I made a couple marks in here on where I wanted it to be. So when I get it done, I'll go ahead and fix that. So what I'll end up doing, we'll talk about the slip ring, excuse me. So what I ended up doing is I had this laying around and I wanted to see if it would work anyways. This is an 8-wire, and I just used 2 wires for each lead. 2 wires going to positive, 2 wires going to negative, and then just to the corresponding to the motors. So that's what we'll do here again. Alright, so we got this mounted on now, and we got our leads, everything ready to go. So we can go ahead and wait to do this for right now. We'll go ahead and get this guy on. Well, I feel like a dum-dum. We're so busy trying to get the gas tank on. You're gonna want to get this guy on first. So go ahead and get this ready. And you're gonna most likely have to drill that out. Drill these holes. I just drill them 3 mil. Very nice. There's these. Okay, so now it's time for the gas tank. You'll notice that some of the wires kind of stick out, so you're gonna want to hot glue that. Just a very little amount. You don't need too much. And or maybe we'll make a cover for it. Where the heck is that hole? Oh. Maybe I'll make a cover for it in the future, but I haven't had any issues with it so far. You get this shield up here. You know, the shield up here that kind of protects everything, so I think it should be okay. So let's go ahead and now you would I have all this hot glue on my electronics, but now you would go ahead and start to do all that, start wiring all of that and setting that up. So, doesn't really matter which one goes into what, just as long as you remember that they're plugged into those ones. But as far as you know, for the servo, you have I may have to mess with this before I actually get it done. So what I'll do is we'll go and get our tracks on. If you remember, we go ahead and put the front on first. Squeeze it around, make sure it gets in the teeth, and then we'll go ahead and do this. This side's the nasty side, so we'll go ahead and put the good side on the outside. It may take some practice for you guys to get those tracks on. Once you've taken them on a few times, it becomes a lot easier. Now, obviously, you're not gonna take them on and off over and over, but you can. I like to, you know, I was testing this in the mud, and we've been getting a lot of rain here lately, so it's kind of cool for testing. But testing in the mud and such, it's really cool to be able to take the tracks off to just rinse them off. That's a really cool feature of all this. Oops. All right. So now we can test. So just to make sure that we have everything in the right receiver.